my phone just froze and cut me off completely while I was speaking, so I have to refilm this video. I was going so strong. Hi guys, welcome to today's video. I thought it'd be a good idea, as it's still the beginning of January, to sum up my favourite albums and the albums that got me through 2020. Now, quarantine meant that I discovered so much new music, so many new bands. I have my pile of albums here. I'm not going to drag on too much about each one, otherwise this video will be very long. So I'm going to try and keep it to 15 minutes or less, because I don't want to be boring or anything. But all of these albums have a special place in my heart because of the lockdown. Let's go. Animals by Pink Floyd. Probably now my favourite Pink Floyd album. Definitely my most listened to Pink Floyd album. I started listening to this April time last year. I had listened to previous Pink Floyd albums, but nothing past Wish You Were Here, which this one's directly after Wish You Were Here, and I gave it a shot. Listened to it actually on vinyl because I borrowed it from a friend, and I had to buy it. I needed to get my own copy of it, so I got it, and I love it. And I love it to this day as much as the first time I heard it. Magical Mystery Tour by the Beatles, probably again my favourite Beatles album, if not Abbey Road is probably my favourite Beatles album. This one I just discovered while listening to the Beatles again. I don't remember how I got into this one, but I love it. It's a weird, wonderful album. It's amazing. I love it so much. Thick as a Brick by Jethro Tull, and I know in my Prog video that I did, my top 10 Prog albums, a lot of you were asking if I like Jethro Tull or have heard of Jethro Tull. I love Jethro Tull. I should have probably put an album in there, but this one got me through 2020. I listened to it multiple times throughout the year and I adore it still. Close to the Edge by Yes, if I haven't talked about this album enough. This album I listened to when I was still in college before I was sent home for the lockdown, and I'd heard the Yes album and I had heard Fragile, but I wanted to get more into their music, so I listened to Close to the Edge because I knew that a lot of people love this album with good reason. I absolutely adore it. I love it start to finish, and I highly recommend this album if you are trying to get into prog. This one is a good one to start with. Hemispheres by Rush. This was a very sad year. Neil Peart died at the beginning, so I kind of got back into my Rush phase and checked out more of their albums. This one being one that I had listened to previously but revisited later in the year, and I love it. I absolutely adore this album. It's my favourite Rush album and probably always will be. Just the fact that they're a three-piece band and can make a sound like this really stuck with me, really had an impact on me. On the Dawn by Mike Oldfield, again another one that I listened to in class and loved from start to finish. Loved the world music, loved the folky aspects and proggy aspects of this album. If you have heard of Tubular Bells, it's the same guy who did Tubular Bells, and just an incredible album. Lateralis by Tool. Now, Tool were my favourite band throughout the whole of last year, and they are up there with my favourite bands of all time, and this album I listened to multiple times, like a lot of times, like a frightening amount of times, because of how weird yet beautiful that they are. You know, this is definitely their entrance into the more prog stuff, because you know their previous albums were a bit more metal or hard rock based. Then they took those prog elements and shoved them together with the metal elements and produced this incredible album. If you haven't heard of Tool, I suggest that if you're a prog fan that you check them out. They are very heavily influenced by King Crimson. By the Way by Red Hot Chili Peppers. An unexpected pick considering my last albums. This band was one that I didn't really like until I listened to this album, and then I fell in love with them. I fell in love with everything about their music. I love this album to pieces, and I've got some of their other albums too. I didn't like them. For some reason I just didn't like them at first, but then I actually gave them a listen and I was like, wow, these people are so talented. Like, why was I so hateful on them when I hadn't even listened to much of their music? But again, check this album out. It's a brilliant one. Alan Parsons Project, Turn of a Friendly Card. Another one that I discovered later in the year. This one's one that my dad showed me actually. And first time I heard it, I've said one of the best albums I think I've ever heard. I love everything about this album. I love Alan Parsons Project. I should have put that in my Prog albums to be honest, but love this album. Definitely one that got me through 2020. News of the World by Queen. This is actually a first pressing I found in a record store. But this album I hadn't heard many songs from at the beginning of the year. I mean, everyone knows We Are the Champions and We Will Rock You, but there are some incredible songs on this album. Sorry about that, but this album, again, I discovered some great new stuff that's not really known to people outside the Queen fans, but this is an amazing album. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I'm saying that about every album because I stick by it. I love this album. No Pussyfooting by Robert Fripp and Brian Eno, one that I discovered literally the end of last year, and I think I've listened to this like 2 or 3 times now on vinyl, and it's just so beautifully done. This album is so perfect in so many ways, just how it all comes together, the atmosphere, just I love it. If you don't know this album, definitely listen to it. It's definitely not King Crimson. Nothing really says King Crimson in this. It's definitely an atmospheric album. Bloom by Beach House, one that I don't think many of you would have expected. This is a dream pop band, duo, whatever, and they make some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard. And I listened to this, when I listened to this for the first time, I was just mind blown. It was one of those moments where you fall in love with an album instantly. And I listened to it for days and days and days on end until I got a little bit bored of it, but I still love it. It's an incredible one. If you haven't checked it out, it's just so beautiful and so calming to listen to. Selling England by the Pound by Genesis. I'd say my 2019 album was definitely Nursery Crime for me, but this one was definitely a 2020 one for me. I listened to this one so many times. I think I listened to the song I Know What I Like at least 30 times this year, if not more. But a great Genesis album, and I've talked about this one in my top 10 prog albums, and I love it. I love it to bits. I'm gonna put this one as a 2-in-1 because they're the same band, but we have Tarkus and the first Emerson, Lake and Palmer album. I loved both of these albums. I heard this one in 2019, didn't really think much of it until about September last year when I started paying more attention to them, and my god, I love these 2 albums. I think I explained the story of how I listened to Tarkus initially. I was doing some work and I had to stop doing my work to listen to the rest of the album, but both of these albums have had a massive... Emerson, Lake and Palmer have been probably my favourite band in the past few months because I've just been listening through their discography and my voice is going. But these 2, definitely check them out. If you're a fan of prog, you've probably already heard both of them, but I really highly recommend both of these albums. I couldn't get enough of them. I still can't. I'm still stuck in my ELP phase at the moment, and I'm listening to so much of this stuff at the moment. These 2 definitely got me through 2020. Just absolutely brilliant albums. And the last album, Octavarium by Dream Theater. I was lucky enough to actually see Dream Theater last year before we went into the first lockdown, and they were just the most incredible live band I think I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen Iron Maiden, I've seen Metallica, I've seen some great bands, but I think Dream Theater are definitely my favourite live band, my favourite concert that I've been to, purely because you're sitting there watching geniuses do what they do best, which is playing music. And even if you don't know anything about Dream Theater, just go to a live show because you will be blown away. I mean, my dad didn't like Dream Theater that much, and then we went to see them live and now he loves them. so they have that impact. But this album in particular really is probably my favourite Dream Theater album, along with Black Clouds and Silver Linings. I should have mentioned that in my top 10 prog video, but this is one of the first Dream Theater albums I heard. First one I heard was Images and Words, but this one, it really got me into them properly. And the last song, you can just really hear what bands they were inspired by, but it's not enough for it to be copying or plagiarism. It's still their own style, but you can hear Pink Floyd, you know, you can hear King Crimson, you can hear all these different bands, Genesis, Yes, etc., Metallica, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, all fused into one band, and I just love them so much. And that is the end of my video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a pleasure filming this video because I just love rambling about albums, but I am going to cut out a lot of my rambling because otherwise this video will be very long. As I said, the record collection video is coming very soon. I'm just working on how I'm going to film it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know some video ideas. And I'm going to do another question today. What albums got you through 2020? Let me know, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.